there's an empty lot at the end of the alleyway of our block. So one of the guys said, hey, we should plant that. So we started, we went and cleaned up all the trash there, knocked down all the tall grass, pulled out all the sticks and stuff, made a couple of Hugo mounds, and just started planting it out. We ended up having a couple of weekend sessions where like a dozen people from the block joined us, and we built like pallet furniture and brought some tables, and
Wow.
it was really cool. It became a really cool community space, but grew a lot of food. And the really interesting thing was like we'd be working this space, and people who'd been walking around the neighborhood for 10 years, the space has always been empty. They would come in and help for a bit and walk on and tell their friends about it. And eventually it got in the newspaper and stuff. Somebody was writing a book about it. It turned into a really neat guerrilla community space. They showed movies there. They had bands play there and stuff. It was really cool.
This is the Farm Hop Life podcast, the Traveling Homestead Family. I'm Matt DeRozier. Today, my guest is Simon Gooder, currently living in Quebec. He has lived in several places in Canada, traveled quite a bit, worked abroad, lived in a van, gardened on and off for several years, stoked on permaculture and ecology, localism, and building community where you are. Founded Perma People with his pal Ben at the start of the pandemic. We're definitely going to get into that later. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you spending your time.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
So I was following you on Twitter and I'm like, hey, this guy sounds interesting. Let's get him on the podcast. And so I had you fill out the form. And one of the questions on the form is like, do these general questions look good? And you sent back no. And so I messaged you back. I'm like, no. And you go, I pulled it up here. I'm okay with them, but I wouldn't consider myself a homesteader. I do many of the things, but I live in a lonely suburb in a 1970s house on a third of an acre. I'm like, do you have a garden, laying hens, anything? And you said, I don't have hens, but I have a garden. Have been working hard at germination, setting up micro nurseries for the past few years. We make a ton from scratch, beer, wine, and bread, homeschool, and forage for herbs and mushrooms. I'm new to this most recent spot, but I've had gardens everywhere and lived everywhere I've lived over the past decade. Started guerrilla community gardens, acted as a seed hub to redistribute seeds to local clubs and food access orgs. I do many adjacent things. So I'm okay. So I guess I'm okay with the question. Maybe we need a new term for it. And I said that all of that, I want to talk about that. Like, way to sell yourself on like getting in on like getting interviewed. Like that sounds crazy.
Sure.
Like now after I reread that, I'm like, man, where do I even start? Like, I guess let's start with you. Like, how did you get started homesteading?
Well, I guess I grew up doing a lot of nature stuff. Always been obsessed with animals since I was super young. But I grew up like camping and fishing and hiking and all that stuff. So I think anything adjacent to nature is super interesting for me. And my dad gardened a bit growing up, but food and flower, like tomatoes and flowers and junk like that. Had a little greenhouse. So that was like my only introduction. It wasn't serious. I wasn't interested then, but it was kind of always there. I think one of the major like moments for me though, I was in Australia traveling with a friend, and the people we were staying with said, I have this really interesting friend. He runs a community garden for at-risk youth. So we went and checked it out, and it turns out it was one of the OG permaculture gardens in Australia. I had no idea what permaculture was at the time, but it was just a giant food forest. You could walk through like full canopy, like we were picking lemons, and he's like, oh yeah, you got to pee, just go pee on those trees over there. And it just seeing it was like a full forest, but it was like the corner of a school field, and it's just super fascinating. I think about that one all the time, and it's a source of inspiration for sure. And yeah, couple that with I'm a bit of a doomer, so that interest is there to be able to supply needs for myself and my family, but a mix of things, I guess. But yeah,
Sure. When you saw that food forest, how old was it? Like 20 years old, 30 years old? Like how well established was it?
I mean, it had to be at least 20 years old. The trees were good. Some of the trees, like it was full canopy, like tall
Sure.
trees. I know things grow quick in Australia, like it was near Sydney. So, um,
Sure. That's a good
but
point.
yeah, it was mature. It was still mature.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Do you remember who had like worked on that food forest? Was it like one of
man.
the like David Hallgrim or
No, I don't.
like
I
Bill
don't think it
Molson?
was one of them, but
Oh,
it was
okay.
somebody who had gone to some of the
Gotcha.
earlier PDCs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Okanagan in British Columbia, so
Oh, okay. Nice. Cool.
semi-arid desert wine country.
Semi-arid desert. Hmm. I didn't know that the semi-arid desert could make grapes for wine. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
Now I
it's a
know
unique
something.
spot, I guess. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, yeah. Um, so what motivates you to grow your own food?
Uh, I guess it's always been interesting, like being able to sort of design and guide systems, and make things grow. Once you accomplish that originally, it just feels really good. But there's also like wanting to have resilience within a community. That's my main motivation now, and supplying food for my family, teaching my kids about growing food, and really an extremely important skill. Um, yeah, and again, as I said, I'm a bit of a doomer, so there's a prepping aspect there too.
Sure, sure. That's totally fair. Does um where's the best place? I guess it's probably hard to pick one. Of all the gardens that you've had, where's which one are you most proud of? Like, oh man, this one was my favorite that I worked on.
Um, I think they're all interesting for different reasons.
Sure.
But we spent a summer up in Yukon Territory in Dawson City, so like a gold mine or a gold rush town. And my partner and I, we lived in a wall tent. And when we rolled into town, we were staying at this hotel, and we had bought these big like trug tubs, like the soft, flexible buckets, and we started this garden of all these tubs outside. It was probably like end of May or something, but we met so many people from having this outside of our hotel room. So I think that was a super interesting one. And we went on to live in that wall tent, and we had all sorts of things growing in the forest clearing near us, but it kept getting eaten by moose and stuff. But
Oh,
that one was interesting. But I think
that would be interesting.
where I'm at now. I know that I'm going to be here for a long time. So this one, I'm definitely much more invested in and interested in.
Nice. Um, so let's talk about what you're working on right now. So what kind of like methods, techniques, or practices are you using? Because what zone are you in?
5B here.
Okay.
hmm Um, I'm really drawn to like the whole systems design and permaculture. Definitely my biggest inspiration. So trying to go like super low input, everything's like beyond organic. I wouldn't add anything besides household food waste and stuff like that. Lots of grass clippings, leaf mold, things like that. Lots of diversity. I'm trying to plant everything together. Lots of experimentation because you never know what's going to work in your specific
Right.
space. Um, and hopefully patience and long-term thinking, but I'm not the best at that yet. So
When you say whole systems design, can you explain what that means to people?
yeah, sure. So including yourself in the system that you're building, um, first and foremost, but including everything that's kind of already there as well. So how you move through your system, consider the weather patterns in your specific spot, consider how the sun aspect hits every area you're in, using what you have there already, how the animals interact, how the wind hits your space. Yeah, so just considering everything as a whole.
Do you do permaculture like consultations? Like, are you a designer at all or anything?
No, not really.
Just
I'm a
for
design.
yourself?
I'm a digital designer, but I'm not a permaculture designer. No,
Okay.
just
I
for
was just
myself. Yeah.
curious, like, if you were to like, how long would it take you to make a plan? Like, so how long have you been on your current property?
Just in September.
Oh wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
coming up on a year here. Um,
hmm
what do you have a like plan for your whole space yet, or is it kind of like just evolving as you go, like starting with your zone one and
Yeah.
working out, or
Sort of. I kind of jumped into it. I spent the winter trying to draw out my designs. Went through like 50 different iterations. I was sharing it with some people on Twitter for some feedback, and I got some real permaculture designers to give me some tips and stuff like that. So got some interesting stuff done, but I feel like I've already accomplished what was on that plan. So now I just got to wait for that stuff to grow. But now I'm already thinking like, we got to cram this space now.
sure,
Where am I going
sure.
to put the peach trees? I need apple trees. I need plums.
Are you sorry, I forgot everything that you said that you do already. There's so much, but you don't have any livestock yet.
No,
Are you planning on it?
yeah, I would like to get a few. Um, Once we're more settled in the space. I had a few ducks for a while when we were living on the north coast in British Columbia, and that was great. They're amazing little creatures, great for slug patrol and stuff like that. Good for eggs. So
Just so if you were to get any livestock, it would just be ducks.
I would get a few ducks. Yeah, I don't really
Okay.
have the space for much more.
Chickens are a little
Maybe
bit
some rabbits.
too rowdy.
Maybe chickens. Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
chickens.
know. I think ducks are a little bit more hardy. They seem like
That's true.
yeah.
That
We'll
is
see.
true. So in all of your experience, what have you tried that worked well?
I think one of the most sort of fulfilling and valuable things is just like trying to grow things from seed, and not just like seed packets, but growing perennials, nuts and fruits, stuff like that. I was pretty inspired by Edible Acres on YouTube. You know that guy, Sean?
Maybe
So
I
he does
might
like,
have.
okay, he has like a permaculture nursery in New York.
Okay.
Um, and he does everything from scratch, and he grows everything together in these beautiful like polyculture gardens on his space, but
Hmm.
he's very like low input. Anyway, so inspired by that, I went to like a heritage nut grove back in my hometown a couple years ago, and in the fall, so the mast was everywhere, like all sorts of different nuts. It was like an experimental nut grove, I guess, back in the day, but it's a park now. So we went through and you can collect the nuts. So we got a bunch of different varieties of walnuts from all over the world, and a few other things, but that didn't work out as well. But I ended up putting them into like a salad clamshell and stuffing some leaf mold in there and throwing
Hmm.
that in the shed all winter. And then come in the spring, I check on it every week, and they'd be sprouting tap roots.
Oh
So
wow.
I got some nursery pots, and I ended up like no input at all, just like soil from wherever I could grab it and mix with leaf mold, and had these massive like 3 foot walnut trees by the end of the summer, in pots. So I ended up unfortunately moving across the country, but I was able to donate some of them to some local food organizations and sold a few others for some other homesteaders in town. But
That
that is
sounds.
just surprisingly easy. I didn't have to do anything.
I'm super curious. I've never seen this before. So a clear salad clamshell you're talking
Yeah,
about, and you
yeah, just so that I
so
could
you have
see
like a
when they were
greenhouse
sprouting.
effect, or
Yep. Yeah.
and you just like put it in like the windowsill or something inside until it's.
Put it outside. It needs to get cold stratified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Huh.
I've got about like 10 hickories going in pots right now in the shed. I don't
That's
have much space.
crazy.
I maybe have space for one, but I'll probably go plant some in the forest and give some to my friends who have homesteads as well. But um, got a couple butternuts and stuff like that I've collected, and some black walnuts that are
Hmm.
starting to sprout too. So yeah, surprisingly easy.
That kind of blows my mind a little bit on how simple
Hmm.
that is. Like
Hmm.
I've seen the oh, what the heck is it? You take like milk jugs and
Hmm.
you like kind of cut it almost all the way around and like put like
Ah, yeah, I
soil
do
in the
like
bottom, plant it, like plant your do your transplant or your seed, I guess,
that.
if you're
Hmm.
starting from seed, tape it back on, and so you can like water
Hmm.
down the top, but it still has
Right,
like the greenhouse effect. Um,
right. Um, Sean at Edible Acres actually gets just these big tubs, and he just fills them with like hundreds of seeds in each one, like stone fruits and nuts, and just throws like wet wood chips in there and buries it, and then digs it up in the spring and plants it all, and he grows thousands of trees every year.
huh? How much? You said Edible Acres is the guy. I'm gonna have to look this guy up
Hmm. Yeah.
after the show. That sounds cool. Who are some of your other favorites other than Edible Acres?
Ben Falk, he wrote The Resilient Farm and Homestead. That's been a huge one. Sepp Holzer as well. He really kicked off my permaculture interests. I came across his documentary, Farming with Nature, like back in like 2007, maybe randomly on YouTube one day, and it's so cool. He's the guy that's growing lemons in the Alps,
Sure.
um, and he's got caves for his pigs and stuff. He's just done some really cool experimenting and shown what's possible.
I've heard the name plenty. I actually just haven't seen like any of his stuff.
Mm.
Um,
He's a fascinating dude for sure. He
yeah,
also walks around with like a bucket of like vegetable seed on his property and just sows it everywhere. And so he walks along, and him and his wife just like harvest vegetables from like multiple acres, and it's just wild trees mixed with apple trees that he's planted, like, and cabbage growing here, lettuce growing there. It's really neat. He's created like an entire like multi-acre
it's almost just like
forest. And
chaos
exactly, yeah,
of plants. But I mean,
it's really
if it
neat.
was meant to grow there, it wouldn't
Hmm.
have. Yeah, so
That's it.
no, that makes sense. That seems so much better than like us trying to like almost like take like tweezers and like I want this plant to grow right in this spot.
Oh,
Like I
that's
don't
it,
want it
man.
over here. I want it
Hmm.
there. And so the plant's like, I don't give a crap. You're like, I want to grow over here. Screw
Oh,
you.
it makes things so much easier, I think, if you can just you know
Yeah.
take a step back.
Uh,
Oh, that's working. I'll let it do its thing.
I've been exploring the concept of like seed balls where you take like
Hmm.
I guess it's one variety, but I don't know why you couldn't do like multiple varieties in a single seed ball. Do like is it compost and clay, I think,
Right.
and like you plant them, just kind of see what grows like that.
Yeah.
That clay's
Yeah. That's
supposed to
awesome.
retain moisture, and the compost is just like the nutrients all wrapped into one. So you're kind of giving what the
Hey, that's
plant
a
it
cool idea.
needs,
We should be doing that everywhere.
right? Yeah, that's that kind of goes into a little bit about about like your guerrilla gardening. Let's jump around a little bit. What
Yeah, sure.
like tell people what guerrilla gardening is.
Uh, I guess using space that's not necessarily yours, or communal spaces, and just growing gardens anywhere, basically anywhere you can.
How long have you been doing this?
Um, well, I dabbled in it for a while, in the various places that I was, by like just growing food in the clearing in the forest when I lived in the Yukon and stuff like that. But um, when I was in living in Montreal, we became pretty close friends with some of the other people in our apartment building. It was just like a 4 story, and one of the other dudes there was super into permaculture.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so we had some really fun projects going on. Like we would get old dressers and fill the drawers with soil and just grow. Like our backyard was a mess of just like old dresser drawers and buckets, and we grew a ton of stuff in our tiny little courtyard. It was probably only like 20 feet by 10 feet back there, but we had so much stuff going. But that kind of got us to connect with our other neighbors who were interested in that. So we started sharing the plants and stuff. Um, and eventually we got to talking, and there's an empty lot at the end of the alleyway of our block. So one of the guys said, hey, we should plant that. So we started, we went and cleaned up all the trash there, knocked down all the tall grass, pulled out all the sticks and stuff, made a couple of Hugo mounds, and just started planting it out. We ended up having a couple of weekend sessions where like a dozen people from the block joined us, and we built like pallet furniture and brought some tables, and
Wow.
it was really cool. It became a really cool community space, but grew a lot of food. And the really interesting thing was like we'd be working this space, and people who'd been walking around the neighborhood for 10 years, the space has always been empty. Um, they would come in and help for a bit and walk on and tell their friends about it. And eventually it got in the newspaper and stuff. Somebody was writing a book about it. It turned into a really neat guerrilla community space. They showed movies there. They had
Huh.
bands play there and stuff. It was really cool. Um, it eventually ended up getting bulldozed because the owner
Of
found out.
course.
He showed up maybe the next year, and it's all been just like boarded up with plywood ever since. It's about 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago maybe. No,
Man,
it's more
that's
than that,
super
three or
sad.
four. Yeah,
That
but
dude is such a like that's I obviously it's his property, he can do whatever he wants, but that's super like short-sighted. Like look at what you like what was created for you. Like instead of
right,
being like,
right,
no, need to real estate, blah blah blah. Like you like if you have any creative juices, get that flowing, figure out like a
right.
different spin to put on it. Like
Mhm.
talk to the people that planted it and the community, like, hey, so let's talk about this. Like, what do you guys want to see?
Really,
The blah 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 blah. Like
right.
literally anything other than just bulldoze it. Like that's
Well,
super.
that's it. Now it's just a mound of trash. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
much
Take your
better.
pick, I
Yeah, I'm
guess.
sure
But
that
like,
looks
yeah,
much better. That he probably could have, like, if he wanted to, he could have sold that lot for like five times like what it was
right,
previously worth.
right,
Because all of a
hmm
sudden it has value.
right.
Wow,
Still,
that's
still cool
crazy.
to see what's possible, though.
That is
Imagine you
true.
had people doing this all over the place. Like the press alone was worth like the city council talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure with enough people involved, you could convince cities to make purchases and turn more of these places into parks or something, gardens.
Yeah.
But
What's the craziest place? Would you say that that's the craziest place that you've done some guerrilla gardening, or have you done like I don't know something? I don't even know somewhere you probably shouldn't have planted a garden.
uh, no, no, that's probably the craziest. Yeah.
That's the prime. Okay, I
Mm,
got you.
hmm hmm
That would be hard to beat if you got like that big of a reaction out of it. That would be pretty cool.
hmm
So, what have you tried that failed or didn't work well?
Um, uh, I tried living in an extremely remote place and attempted to homestead, thinking like the off grid life was for me, but it didn't
A
work out
what
so well
kind of
for us.
place? What did you say? A what
Oh,
kind of place?
like an extremely remote
Oh,
off grid
extremely
place.
remote.
Like
Okay.
that romantic notion of having a homestead
Right.
in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Where like was that the Yukon then? Was that where you tried to
No, so um, we bought a little house. I guess it's more like a cabin. It was in Haida Gwaii. It's like an archipelago off the northwest BC coast, close to
hmm,
Alaska, really. Um, it's mostly like unceded Haida territory, indigenous villages and stuff like that, but extremely remote. Like um, it's like an 8 hour ferry from the mainland to get there, and the town that
whoa.
you have to get to is like hours from any other resources. So yeah, it was super extreme, but we had a pretty neat little cabin on the ocean. We had electricity, but we did all our like it was rainwater and a composting toilet built into the bathroom. Maybe like an 800 square foot house with three of us and a big dog living in it, but
That is
pretty
very remote.
intense.
Holy smokes. How do
Yes,
you
for sure.
spell this? How do you spell that?
HAIDA space GWAII. Um, the Haida have a super interesting
Wow.
culture there, and it's beautiful, like craziest adventures of my life for sure. But it rains like more than 300 days a year there. Um, one of the summers we had like I think we counted 4 sunny days. Um,
Dude, there's no way this place is real. These pictures look insane. This
it is
looks like
insane.
this doesn't look, man. I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna pull up I'm gonna share my screen really quick so people don't have for that those that are watching the video, they don't have to go searching for this later.
Hmm?
I'm gonna click share screen, Brave tab, this one, share. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Like this is nuts. This is so other side. This is so crazy that this place exists. I know we're totally off on a tangent, but this is just too
Hmm.
wild. Like this, you lived
It
in a
is.
place like this?
Yeah, that's man. That was it. Yeah, for sure.
This is
That's
so cool.
it's it is it's
Now
extremely wild still. That's the beauty of it.
I gotta go visit. This is now
Oh
on
yeah,
my bucket list to like, okay, I need to step foot somewhere. Yeah, like a 8 hour
100%.
ferry ride. It is a little
Oh,
long, but I'm gonna have to get over it. So
oh yeah, it's still a beautiful ferry ride. You get to see a lot.
I've taken 15-hour flights from Seattle to Hong Kong. I did that
Oh yeah.
once, like round trip, and that was definitely awful. So, and I'm pretty sure I get seasick. Like I usually don't do very
Mhm.
well in that regard, but
Oh, you can pop some gravel and you can
I guess.
rent a cabin so you can sleep. So it's not that
Oh,
bad,
that's
but
true. Maybe
it's
I
worth
could
seeing
also
though.
just take a seaplane. I
Yeah,
think I'd
that's
pay
true.
for a seaplane or
Yep.
really
There you go.
go baller and get a helicopter.
Right. You can fly to some portions of the island. There's small
Okay.
airports. Yeah.
Man,
So
that is awesome. Looks so
yeah.
cool. Can't believe some people like still live in places like that. That blows my mind.
It's extreme, man. Everybody that's living there is just on like subsistence level. Like you're not, you know, it's hard to thrive in a place like that.
I talked to a guy, man, it's got to be like a month or two ago now, who is in southeast Alaska, so kind of
Okay.
close to where that is, and he's like, dude, I've got like no topsoil. Like I, I don't I keep forgetting what he calls it, but it's like moggy, like I don't know. It's
Hmm.
like a bog moss
Hmm.
thing, like that. He's like potatoes do good, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's yeah. It's like thick black muck. Um,
Yeah,
we ended up having to have a greenhouse just to control the rain and moisture, which is crazy too. But um, yeah, interesting place for sure. Lots of challenges
yeah.
for gardening and
Wow.
homesteading there.
So it was too remote. What made it too remote?
Hmm.
Like just was it the soil conditions? That's what was the
I mean,
soil and the rain and the
like resources and supplies. So like in the winter, the ocean is insane there. Um, so the ferry can't make it for several days, it's weeks sometimes. So there's no food getting restocked at the grocery stores. Not to
mm,
mention how remote that grocery store is. So they're getting like the bottom of the barrel for most of the food. It's coming all the way from Chile for fresh produce. We're not getting any Canadian or American produce. I guess they
sure.
save all the cheaper stuff for the remote locations. Um, yeah, so it's a
You
food
guys
desert
get it
for sure.
rotten.
Yeah, oh yeah, like the produce section was abysmal. It's awful. Um, yeah, in the summer there's a really nice Mennonite farm, and they supplied like a bunch of cabbage and carrots and stuff. But like a head of cabbage is going for like $12. So
What?
a few of those things, yeah, it's pretty insane. Um, yeah,
Wow. I might have to buy a helicopter and start being a cabbage farmer or just like
right,
a
mm,
transporter. I don't know.
right, yeah.
That's so crazy. What?
But if you're getting your own food though, you're set there. Like the
Sure.
Haida people, there's invasive deer there, so you can have like I think it's like 13 deer tags a year, um,
Whoa.
and and they fish salmon,
Is that
tons of
exclusive to
salmon.
them because
You can fish
they're
salmon there too,
indig?
but
Oh,
oh
okay.
The deer tags as well.
Y-
They're allowed to take much more salmon. But yeah, the
Okay.
deer tags is open. If you're a hunter, you can go.
Okay. Because that Alaska guy, he said that just his wife, who is indigenous, Alaska Native, she can hunt and their kids can hunt, but he cannot hunt. And I
Okay.
think it
Mhm.
was it hunt and fish? I think it's both. I think he
Okay.
cannot participate, um, being white. So
Right.
yeah. Um, what did you say? What brought you to that island in the first place? Did you say?
Not really. So we were living in Montreal. We had moved around. I lived in a few different places in British Columbia, Vancouver, Nelson. We attempted to live in or move to Halifax, or we made the mistake of moving outside of Halifax, thinking it was Halifax, and that really sucked. So we moved to Montreal, and then we were looking to get back to British Columbia because it's a romantic province, really. And real estate had started going up at that time. So we were
Mm,
like, oh, what do we do? We found this place. It was like super affordable. So I went and flew out and checked it out, and I was like, well, it's pretty dreamy. There's a lot of opportunity here. It was like an acre overlooking the ocean, like
hmm.
an inlet on the ocean, and it was on a big hill on the backside, backing onto just like uh, thousands of acres of forest. Um, so it was a really beautiful spot. It seemed romantic at the time, so
Yeah,
we went for it. We're pretty spontaneous, and
that's awesome.
yeah,
That sounds just so crazy. So did you say that you tried it for a year? How long did you say?
we lasted almost 3 years there.
Almost 3 years. Okay. What
Mhm.
was the what was the final like nail in the coffin, or like straw that broke the camel's back? What was the
Right.
like final thing
So
you're just like, can't do it anymore?
we had said we were leaving a few times or attempted, and we'd go like drive down and visit my family, and go back up and be like, okay, like let's give it another shot. Let's like expand our house. Let's build a tiny home or something, so we have more space. Um, and I think like a week after we had said that we're going to stay, my dog escaped at night and ended up getting hit by a car and dying. So um, that was a pretty brutal day. And we
Dang.
said, okay, we're done. That's it. We're leaving. That's the sign. That's the final sign.
Sure. That's super
Yeah.
sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Jeez. Um. Sorry. I'm just trying to like, okay, how can we move out of that? Out of dead dog
All
territory.
good. All good.
What has been the biggest challenge in farming that you faced, or homesteading?
I think learning to just be okay with where you are. Um, every time, like, try to put time into something, end up leaving. You know, we spent so much time looking for the place to live.
Hmm.
I feel like we found it now, but like so much of that, like we put so much time and effort into our place in Haida Gwaii, trying to do the homestead thing, planted a whole bunch of trees and dug so many gardens and ponds for the ducks and stuff like that, and worked on the house. And then we were, couldn't hack it. So yeah,
Sure.
I guess that's it. Finding that place to really continue to be motivated to put in the effort, the
Yeah,
long term vision.
that would be tough because like it's man, I got a lot invested here, but it's just not working out for like and sometimes it is just restlessness too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I'm kind of over being here. Let's go
Hmm.
somewhere else,
It's so hard to find that place, the place.
right?
I don't know if it even exists for everybody, but
I think some people, I almost envy people that um can stay in one spot and they're okay with that.
hmm.
Um, I get, I get, I don't know. I just feel like there's too much to see to just stay in one spot.
I get
I
it. Yeah.
think
Hmm.
like we have our place here, but we're gonna hit the road and go visit other people.
Yeah,
hopefully
it's amazing.
worldwide eventually. That's the goal. It'd be awesome to, come see what you're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
if
You're
Canada
welcome.
ever lets Americans in, or if America lets me back in, I guess.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but then I always also think about the people that are too content, like staying where they are, that they're just like always like, oh, it'd be nice to go to Alaska. So go to Alaska.
Mhm.
I
Right.
can't.
Mhm.
And then they come up
Yeah,
with every excuse to not do
that's it.
that thing. And man, that just drives me nuts. It's like
Yeah,
you're just cheaping out. Like you're playing like uh intellectual laziness to
that's it.
not figure
Yeah.
out how
Hmm.
to actually do what it is that you want to do.
Right. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Really,
Yeah.
that's the way we see it. Like,
You might have to live in your
you know,
van,
right.
but
But
it
if you
worked.
want to do it, then do it. Yeah,
Yeah. Can we talk about the
I
living
get
in
it.
the van for a little bit? Was
Yeah,
that
sure.
by choice? Like, or was that by
Yeah,
circumstance?
sort of. So, um, when we were living in Vancouver, my partner and I thought it would be cool to buy a van and travel around the province. And we ended up spending the summer cruising around, taking our kids on adventures, going camping, visiting friends. And then we ended up not really being able to find a place when we got back to Vancouver. So we ended up
Hmm.
living in various parking spaces over the winter in Vancouver. We lasted, I think, pretty sure we were in the van for like 4 months, I think. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
That sounds rough. What's
it
winter
was
like
okay.
in Vancouver? Because I went to,
It's okay.
let's see, I'm trying to think of when I went to, it was like Vancouver and Whistler.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember the months that I went. It might have been November that I went to Vancouver and Whistler.
Hmm.
Did a little, I had like a 5-day vacation or something like that up there. Um,
Okay,
it didn't seem that bad. It was very like, it
it's pretty
was
mild.
very wet.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gray. It's gray and rainy for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But it was cool. Um, what's that? There's like some suspension bridge park or something like that. I don't remember what it
Oh,
was called.
Capilano, I think
Yeah. Yep.
probably. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That place is cool.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good one. Yeah.
so, oh man, I had a follow up question. I don't remember what it was. What's the best part about homesteading?
I think getting to actually spend time to learn the interesting skills. Um, I've always had an interest in like building stuff. And I feel like in the last few years since homesteading, I've had to put that to the test and like learn these things.
Yeah.
Um, I feel better off for it. Like I had to learn how a pump system works when I had a rainwater system. I've learned to put in flooring. Like I've had to learn how to use saws and stuff like that, and then you learn all the gardening skills and the planting skills and the nursery skills and um, taking cooking to another level, when you're
Oh
making
yeah.
bread or fermenting things and making drinks and stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. The skills I find really interesting and um, I don't know how to say it, but it builds you up as a person.
Oh yeah. Do you say you enjoy the process of learning?
Yeah, definitely.
Were you ever good at school, or did you enjoy school?
Not really, no.
Me either.
I disliked school.
What's funny though is like uh the kids that dislike school but love to learn. It's like
Hmm.
present something to me that's interesting and
Right.
I'll listen. I'll
That's it.
like I still love like I do way more learning now than I did in school. Like I'm
Oh, so
learning
much.
all the time. Like if I'm not learning, like it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah,
You get what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Maybe they just
more
weren't.
information.
Right. Maybe they just weren't teaching us the right way that we needed to be taught, you
The
know,
right
or
way, the right subject.
the
Yeah.
right things. That's it. Yeah.
That too. That
Yeah.
too. I mean, it's both. Honestly, like,
Yeah.
I'm way hands-on as a learner. If you sit me in a desk and blab to me, I'm tuned out in 20 minutes. Like, 20 minutes
Yeah.
is generous.
Hmm.
You know, that's like, watching these, even trying to like learn things like permaculture through like video. Um, is a struggle for me.
Hmm.
Whereas if I was to like step into that food forest like you talked about, and someone could like go through it and explain it to me, like
Right.
I already
Tenfold.
I get the concept, but like if they start it like do their 7 layers and like explain the seven
And you
layers,
can
and I
see
can
exactly
see
what it
it,
is and
it's
feel
like,
it and smell it. Yeah.
whoa, okay, yeah, this is perfect. I like this.
Yeah.
And if it was
That
even
sounds good.
in like various like stages, like, okay, here's something that's been established for like a year, here's 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever. And so like you can see the progression as
Yeah.
well. Like
Get to
that
see the
would be
process of progression.
huge.
Agreed.
So
Application. Yeah.
application, yeah. What what have you gone to like any workshops before to like learn? I mean, did you go like that thing down in Australia? Was that kind of like a workshop, or is that just kind of like, hey,
That
come
was
check
just,
this place out?
yeah, it was more like that. Just a friend
Okay.
showing us his cool project. Yeah. No, I've been to a few like hour-long talks about this or that. Like I went to see Joel Salatin when I was in Montreal talk about farming
Oh,
and being a rebel and stuff. And um, uh, yeah, nothing major, but I've been to a few talks about various permaculture and farming subjects.
sure. How was Joel Salatin seeing him talk?
That was interesting. I didn't know who he was at the time, but
Oh,
I thought,
really?
yeah, yeah. My friends just said, "Hey, we got tickets to see Joel Salatin. He's like this rebel farmer dude. You should come check it out." So we ended up going, and it was pretty interesting. I haven't read much of his stuff. I know who he is, and I've watched a bunch of his videos and stuff.
Sure.
So I'm aware of his, you know, uh, I guess his issues in lots of aspects.
His
But
issues.
his approach um, to like just being a rebel and just trying shit out, I thought was really interesting. Um, there's a lot of crazy regulations for farming everywhere, but especially in Quebec. But he had come prepared with like all these ways to skirt the rules for Quebec farmers, and he was presenting all
Oh,
these ideas like you can do this, you should try this, like did you think about doing this? Like just
that's
because you have to
super
feed your
interesting.
pigs on a concrete pad doesn't mean they have to be in a concrete enclosure. So he had a
Mm,
bunch of interesting thoughts on just you know making it work, I guess.
I did not know that about him. I did not know that when he goes to speak somewhere that he does things like that, where he brings ideas to the
Right.
region.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure if he
that's
does that
fascinating.
everywhere, but it was, yeah, made it much more interesting for sure.
You might be one of the only people in the world that has gone to see Joel Salatin speak without knowing who he is beforehand. Like, I don't know if there's
Yeah.
a person on this podcast that I've interviewed that isn't a fanboy or girl
Mhm.
of Joel Salatin. It's
Yeah,
just funny.
he's big. Yeah, he's big out there.
It's a big deal. Um, with how much he does, like, I'm not even sure he. This is just coming from like I'm not like a super fan. I've read one of his books, um, and I don't really follow him that closely. But it's, man, with how much he has going on, it's hard to say if he even does any farming anymore. Like, all
Right.
these like, writing books, doing interviews, media engagement,
Speaking,
speaking,
yeah.
blah blah blah. Like,
It's crazy.
man, you want to talk about how to make a couple $1 million a year farming? Talk about farming.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Forget the
really.
farming, just talk about it.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah.
which, hey,
Big
no,
guru.
I'm not throwing shade at Joel Salatin. I mean,
Mhm.
he busted his ass for many, many, many years and is still doing
Right.
good
He can
work.
he can back it up. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I just want that to be known that I'm not like, putting the guy down whatsoever. It's just he's just shifted gears, it seems like. So
Right. Yeah.
do you have any interest in going to see his place down in wherever he is?
Oh yeah, I would love to, for sure.
I've talked to one or two people that have been there, and they're like, you know, when he does the videos on YouTube, it's very like it's shot so like you really don't see the clutter or the mess.
Hmm.
But when
Okay.
you get there, it looks just like everybody else's property. Like there's
Right.
crap sitting there, crap over there, and
Hmm.
which is good
I
to
believe it.
know. But they should show
Right.
that. They should
Yes.
they should
Yeah, you got to keep it real. That's how you
right.
show people that they can do it too, or that they're not
Like
doing something wrong, really.
that's exactly what that's probably exactly what people feel like. I'm not doing
Hmm.
it right because my place looks messy.
Right.
Like it needs to be spick and span. Like the queen is
Yeah.
not coming to visit. Like it does not matter.
Right. I can't imagine what a clean farm looks like, though, either.
They don't have a farm. It's just grass. Like they grow grass, and
Right.
if there's one dandelion in that yard, that gardener gets executed. uh, so what is a micro nursery?
I think just the idea that kind of on what I was speaking about before, how easy it is to grow certain things and propagate certain things. The idea that you can grow a ton of like plants, trees, perennials in your own backyard for little or no money. You just get buckets and soil, or make your own soil out of leaf mold and grass clippings, and go find some nut trees in your city, or whatever, honey locust pods, or you know fruit seeds, and just plant them. It's a lot easier than people think. Um,
Sure.
it'd be cool to get more people actually producing on that level of the micro nursery. A lot of potential to just be creating new trees and not have to spend any money on it and share them with neighbors and stuff.
Do you do microgreens?
I don't. No,
Oh, have you ever tried it?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. Some people I've seen
You?
that I haven't done it yet. I actually wherever my seeds are, they might be up on the seed cabinet here. We were going to do it this year, and now that we have like the grow cabinet,
Yeah.
um it's empty because everything got planted. Almost everything got planted. Now we have the space available to do microgreens in this cabinet here.
Hmm.
So I was going to try it this year. I got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like one thing that does not work for my wife and I is growing lettuce.
Okay.
Not that it doesn't
I
grow.
get it.
It just we kind of forget to harvest it, I guess. Then all of a sudden it gets too big and like so we
Bolts.
were
Yeah.
like, okay, so what if we just grew lots of little lettuce, I guess, and
Hmm.
did microgreens, I guess. I don't know. So
Sure.
we're gonna try
Yeah.
it, try
I
something.
think it would be great to do a box or something in the winter for sure. Keep a couple of boxes cycling, getting some fresh greens going.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be
Um,
good, I guess.
if you can't get lettuce to grow, have you ever tried mustard
No, I
or
haven't
bok
tried
choy?
mustard.
Uh,
Bok choy would be
giant
interesting.
giant red mustard is one of my favorites, just because it grows so massive, and like one leaf is like the size of your head, and it grows super fast. It's grown well everywhere that I've planted it for the past few years, and I just bring the seeds with me when I collect them after they bolt. But um, it's a great plant. Tastes delicious, a little bit spicier than lettuce, but it's quite resilient. And bok choy has been really good for me this year. That's why I asked. I got some bok choy seeds when I was doing the seed hub last year. Just like a big bulk bag of them. So I've been seeding bok choy like crazy, but it's delicious and it's grown really well so far. And it works as a salad too.
Um, are those seeds available on permapeople.org?
Not right now. No,
What? They're not? Oh
no.
man.
I'll put up my inventory in the fall.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm
I'll
gonna
send you
share
some.
my
Send me
Oh,
your
that'd be
address. I'll send you
awesome.
some. I
That'd
can
be
send
so
you a package.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Uh
sure.
So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about permapeople.org.
Sure.
So how did, let's see here, do it right. How did this start here? This permapeople.org. Can you tell me about this?
Yeah, for sure. So at the start of the pandemic, I was laid off from my job, um, and I was trying to learn some new skills. So I thought it would be a cool idea to build a plant database. And I was starting to just fool around with the idea of pulling in data from Wikipedia and organizing it differently. And then, like maybe a week after I had started that project, I came across somebody on Permies.com saying that they
Mm-hmm.
were looking to build a plant database and they were looking for someone to help. So I reached out to Ben. He's in Berlin, and
Oh,
we talked a
cool.
few times, and we've sort of been iterating ever since. Started super small on just importing the plants for a date or plants for a future database, and then we built on that with a bunch of Wikipedia data, and then we built on that with a bunch of our own data. We collected spreadsheets, and we've just been we spent hours and hours just manually entering data to try and make it
Holy smokes.
more full than Plants for a Future. And then we've slowly added more features over time. Like our marketplace is super popular. It's location based and open, and everything's 100% free. Um, so yeah, I think the marketplace has been the biggest surprise. We kind of just built it on a whim because we wanted to swap seeds with people, but we see a lot of action there, which is really cool, and a lot of people starting to list more things beyond just seeds. Like there's kombucha and stuff on there now, and soaps, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think just providing people a free platform to at least swap seeds, if not sell things too. So,
So they could do seeds and like bare root or something?
oh yeah, anything. Yeah, and you can
Cool.
set it to your location. So the idea is ideally you're connecting with people near you to find things that are suited to your location.
Nice. This is cool. I had only looked at the plant database part and I was like,
Hmm.
oh sweet. Okay. And then missed I must have missed the marketplace tab at the top. But
Yeah,
this is sweet.
yeah, thanks. And I mean, over
Cuba.
90% of the people are um, open to trade. So there's almost no money swapping
Oh
hands on most of
sure.
these deals. So you see the little red circle on there, that means open to swap, and
Oh, okay.
almost everybody is. So
That's super cool. So if I go back here, for those that are on the audio, I'm playing around on the map of the permapeople.org/marketplace. So if under filters, is there a filter for zone?
no, not right now.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Because is
but in
that
the
be
in the database, you can look for the plant that you want and go to that page. And if there are any listings in the marketplace, you'll see that on the plant profile as well. But
okay? So
there's
let's
definitely
go.
not for everything. But
So if I go back and so like USDA zone 4 trees, they'll grow in my zone 5. So if I click on this fire resistant USDA zone 4 trees, um, where would it show up that this is available on the
so
marketplace?
right, so this is just a list that people make. You
Okay.
can make lists to organize. So like say click on black walnut there or any of the trees. Doesn't matter. And it's all good.
Holly oak.
Sure. Yeah. So this will give you all the information about growing it. You can scroll down a little bit. You can see about the hardiness zones, the layers, sun, and then you'll see here in the marketplace if there's any listings, they'll be right
Ah,
there.
okay.
So
Gotcha. This is awesome. How would you how do you feel about those plant identification apps? Have you tried any? Do any of them
oh
work?
yes, I love them actually. I use it every day, like multiple times.
Really?
Seek is my favorite. It's tied to iNaturalist. If you're not familiar with that, or if you're familiar with iNaturalist,
Okay. It's Seek I Naturalist.
yeah. So
Seek by. Okay.
iNaturalist
Cool.
is sponsored by like National Geographic and a bunch of new universities,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
people just report their findings, and it's all open, so you can see anything. You can find all sorts of things. But Seek uses, I guess, machine learning from the iNaturalist database to identify the plants. It's pretty good.
That's pretty sweet. Because I'm always super skeptical about those things. I'm like, because I think I tried one like a year or two ago. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't seem right. But who am I? Who am I to say?
Oh, I'm sure some of them are, depends what data they're using, I guess. But yeah, Seek is
Sure.
pretty efficient, pretty accurate in my experience.
This is super cool. Now, if you could team up with Seek and
Mm-hmm.
be like, hey, you can buy this plant on my marketplace or
Right.
swap it or trade it or whatever. Learn more about Seek and it's what it needs through permapeople.org and the
That's
plant
it. Yeah.
database. So that would be
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We are totally open to, like, we're a full organic open organization, so everything's available as Creative Commons license, so it can be used anywhere. But we're hoping that other people who share that ideal can share their data too.
Do you monetize permapeople?
No,
Okay.
um, no, no. Everything's free. Ben pays for most of it, but we just got we do like a buy me a coffee, but we don't harass people about it. It's just a small
Okay.
link in the footer, and we have one subscriber who's paying us $20 a month. So
Oh,
that
wow.
that's okay. It'll cover some of our operating costs at least.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Hopefully after this, more people will buy you coffee.
that would be amazing. Yeah, keep the servers
Um,
running.
yeah. Is it? Never mind. I was gonna ask, like, is it that expensive? But it could be, but it
It's
also couldn't be at the same time.
we're pretty small scale. It's not, we don't
Sure.
have to run much crazy stuff. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Do you need assistance? Like, if someone wanted to help on, let me go back page. Um, if someone wanted to help, like, do you need people helping, like, develop permapeople.org, or are you pretty content with it just being you and Ben?
We do have a few other people in our Slack who contribute, like a bug fix here and there, or help us with
Okay.
features. Like, we just had someone reach out to us through Reddit and said, "Hey, I want to scrape some data for you guys." So they made us this really nice data sheet of like 5,000 scraped plants, or 5,000 plants, with some information we were looking for on like native range and habitat, which is
Whoa.
super cool. So yeah, people come to us with these random ideas, and we've had quite a few over the years that we've been at it. Just come with specific contributions. Also, the database is fully open. We get a lot of contributions there, so you can go fill out a plant profile. Lots of times it's just basic information, whatever is on Wikipedia, and then people come add their own pictures, add some growing information too.
Okay. Is there this might this might be above my knowledge base, but is there a way to, like, index Wikipedia automatically and bring it into permapeople, or like
Yeah, so we ran some scraping with their API. We
oh,
like
okay,
matched
cool.
every one of our entries and pulled in some basic information from Wikipedia.
That's pretty clever. That's because, like, otherwise, like,
Yeah.
that copy and paste, like, that'd be
Oh yeah,
aw like, it'd be
forever.
impossible. It'd be like, all right, I'm gonna get someone on Fiverr to do this for me.
Right.
This
Ben's
is
super good
awful.
at that stuff, so that's not me, but
Sure,
Ben does that
sure.
stuff, and he's great at it.
You're Steve Jobs and he's Steve Wozniak. I get it. That's totally fine. So as we wrap up here, how do I get out of this? Stop. Okay, there we go. Okay, bring back my notes because it's the same. Okay, there we go. Wow, that was a struggle. Um, what would you tell people that wanted to get started?
Um, I think some advice for anybody who wants to get started at anything would just be just start. You don't have to do much, just start and start experimenting. That's it. Save your apple seeds and throw them in a cup with some dirt you picked out of the yard. Just start doing it. Start playing around, experiment.
The apple seeds. is an interesting take, because aren't they like, because apples are like the weird plant where it's not, they don't propagate that way. You get an entirely new
Right.
species from apple seeds, and like
Right.
aren't most of them awful? Like when you do it that way, you're like,
Um,
oh, this is bitter, this is
I,
gross, oh, blah blah blah. Like,
so I love this question because everybody always says that, but I swear that's just a myth. Have you ever tasted a crab apple before?
probably not
Okay.
in the last 10 years. Definitely not intentionally.
Okay. Okay. So crab apples, they're just sour, but they're good. I've never tried a bad crab apple. Okay. That's like
Okay.
the wild version of the apple. Around here, we're like in, a farming village or multiple farming villages. There's wild apples growing everywhere, like feral apples. And we've collected from dozens of different trees, and I have yet to find one that's gross. They're all good.
Okay. Hmm.
So even if I think most of the apples that we see today are bred for like shipping and for staying big and red
Sure.
or avoiding certain blights or bugs or diseases. But yeah, I mean, I honestly think we should grow more apples. At the worst, you have rootstock to get some varietals and graft them on there and learn how to graft. Or you have cider apples if they're too bitter and sour, or juice,
Sure. Actually, now that you
applesauce.
say that, yeah, I did find like wild apples near my house. Like not even that
Mhm.
far. Like it's like a 10-minute walk, I guess. Um, and they were like, we picked, they're not that big,
Mhm.
tennis ball at most. Probably tennis
Right.
ball. Yeah, I'd say tennis ball size.
Mhm.
Um, they were not that good.
No. Okay, that's fair. They can be dry. Yeah.
Maybe I should try it again, but maybe it's because I'm very spoiled on the Honeycrisp apples. Like they're just,
Oh,
I mean,
Honeycrisp is amazing.
and the Honeycrisp lately that my wife's been getting at the store have been massive, like
Oh yeah. Oh
bigger
man,
than a softball, I guess.
a good apple is a good apple.
That's
It's
true.
amazing. Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I appreciate you being here and spending your time.
Yeah.
I
Thanks for
do
having me.
have a
Well,
couple
nice to meet you.
questions after. Yeah, good to meet you too, man. I got a couple questions after the show, so
Sure.
just hang tight, and appreciate everyone listening. If you want to follow Sim, he is at Slim Goober. And what was the other? You got another one. Perma People has its own Twitter account,
Yeah.
right?
At permapeople_org.
Okay, perfect. I'll have links and share that. So
Thank you.
thank yep, thanks again. I like this interview a lot. Simon has had quite an interesting life, and I can tell he has a lot to say, but won't unless asked, which is why I had so many questions for him. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video. Check out our website, farmhoplife.com. You can sign up for our email list or Telegram channel there to be notified when new videos, interviews, and podcasts are available. Send me a message at farmhoplife.com/contact or email me anytime, matt@farmhoplife.com. I'm always looking for new people to interview. If you'd like to come on to talk about homesteading, farming, food security, homeschooling, regenerative agriculture, alternative building methods, or anything else, pitch me an idea. Go to farmhoplife.com/guest and fill out the form. Go feed yourself.